All right, Super Bowl's in the books. What did we learn about the Lions watching last night?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's good, everybody? Matt Derry with you. It is another week of Locked On Lions right here in the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On a Monday, February 10th, and a Tuesday, February 11th. Thanks for making us your first listen, everybody, and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Our good buddy Lauren Cox, host of Locked On Bears, Touchdown Bears. Lauren Cox is going to join us tomorrow. We'll talk a little Ben Johnson and what's going on in Chicago with the coaching staff and everything. We'll do that with Lauren coming up tomorrow. Likely get Bradford Banta in the mix, the former Lion, on Thursday as well. Big week here on Locked On Lions. Super Bowl's in the books. We're going to discuss that. Huge win last night for the Eagles. Philadelphia dominated from start to finish. Everybody's talking about the halftime show and everything that went on last night, and Botox Brady, who said nothing for 3.5 hours. All of that coming up here on Locked On Lions today. Also, today is Mock Draft Monday. Oh, I got you a 3-round mock from NFL.com, which is certainly weird, but I will deliver that to you coming up momentarily here on the podcast as well. We got odds to get to the Super Bowl for next year from Vegas. We'll get to all of that today right here on Locked On Lions. Matt Derry with you. Thanks for making us a priority of being around Locked On Lions. Thanks to our everydayers that are out there that watch and listen to the podcast daily. Appreciate all of you. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Follow us on all social media platforms, the Facebook page, Twitter, Blue Sky. We're everywhere. Thanks to all the interactions on our YouTube comments page as well. Yes, I predicted the Chiefs to win last night, 31-30. They got they got curb stomped. And, you know, you watch the game, and as a Lions fan, and I know there were plenty of people that did not watch the game, and that Lions fans, some were boycotting, and I'm not going to chastise anybody that didn't want to watch it or didn't feel good about checking it out. I think it was Alex Anzalone that put out on social media that he wasn't watching it. David Montgomery was on Radio Row Friday down in New Orleans saying, I'm not watching this game. These guys are pissed. They wanted to be in the game. Terrion Arnold put out a really cool social media video where he was like, man, I just wish we were there and we should be in this game. And these guys are motivated to come back next year. But the biggest takeaway for me in watching last night's game and watching the Eagles just push Kansas City around was simple. Philadelphia's defensive line is absolutely disruptive. They are dominant, and it's not just one guy. It is a group effort. It's Jalen Carter. It's Milton Williams. It's Nolan Smith. It's Josh Sweat. It's Brandon Graham. And I'm not even a big Eagles fan. I'm naming 5-6 guys off the top of my head. Philadelphia is stacked up front, and they made life hell for Patrick Mahomes last night. Oh, by the way, speaking of hell, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson last week, at the end of last week, down at the Super Bowl, the Eagles safety saying, life was hell for me when I was in Detroit. Oh, you know what, Chauncey, shut up. Seriously, get a life. Shut up. I came back, and if he had my spot. Yeah, because you aren't that good. I'm so over Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and his BS. Oh, remember the ski masks? That was fun. Give me a break. It was hell being in Detroit. Oh, okay. Bye. You just won a Super Bowl in Philly. Congratulations. You're in a much better place. Hope you finish your career in Philadelphia. Because you ain't that good. And you weren't good here. And the Lions safeties right now are 10 times better than you. So shut up. Anyway, the Eagles defense made life absolute hell for Patrick Mahomes all night. I've never seen Mahomes play that poorly. That was embarrassing. And look, Patrick Mahomes is a Hall of Fame player. Patrick Mahomes is going to win more Super Bowls. The dude's a baller. I mean, he's absolutely fantastic. And even though he was never coached by Tommy Tuberville, Patrick Patrick Mahomes is sweet. He had a bad game, and the Chiefs' offense was completely discombobulated because of what the Eagles have up front. Look, the Eagles linebackers are good with Bond. Their secondary is excellent with the two rookies and big play Slay and all those guys. Look, that's the best defense in the league. All right. But I've never seen Mahomes just play that poorly. And a lot of it was due to the pressure and the fact that the Chiefs' offensive line, whether it was Humphrey, whether it was Thuney, whether any of those guys, they all got destroyed. And so you look ahead to Detroit and you see where the Lions are. And by the way, I'm going to do this right now on February 10th. Lions at Eagles to open next season. Let's go. I can see that happening. I think I was looking at this earlier. Philly's home schedule next year, their home opponents next year. This came to my attention and I have to find it. Oh, I know I had it here somewhere. Phillies. Philadelphia Eagles home opponents next year. Cowboys, Giants, Commanders, Bears, Lions, Lions, Broncos, Raiders, Rams. What's the best matchup there? First of all, they're not going to put Lions and Eagles and Cowboys on Thursday Night Football to open up next season. They're not going to do that. Eagles, Giants? No. Eagles, Commanders and a repeat of the NFC Championship game? Possibly. Eagles and Bears? Maybe. Eagles, Lions? Very intriguing. Broncos wouldn't be bad. Raiders, Rams. I'm telling you, Lions are going to be opening up the season in Philly week 1 on primetime opening night, Thursday night. Book it. I'm telling you. But what we learned is that the Lions need to be better on the interior of their defensive line. And if you go to Detroit Football Network, and please subscribe to Justin Rogers and get his stuff, Justin did a list of cap casualties that the Lions, if they wanted to save some money, could be thinking about in a couple of weeks. And one of them was DJ Reader. DJ Reader's owed, the Lions could save about $7 million in cap space if they cut DJ Reader, who's owed about $13 million next year. And Reader is a good football player, did not live up to the contract this year in terms of the money he signed for. He was fine. But when you're paying a guy 2 years and $26.5 million, you expect better. Aleem McNeil might not be healthy to start the year. Aiden Hutchinson, is he going to be 100% to start the year? Are they bringing Zadarius Smith back, who is a bit of an underachiever? Will Levi Onwuzurike stay? Is Josh Pascal any good? Lions need to beef up that defensive line. We've talked about Myles Garrett ad nauseum. Now I know I got friends texting me, Josh Sweat had 2.5 sacks last night. Lions should sign him. Do you know how much money Josh Sweat made last night at the Super Bowl? A ton. But he may price himself out of what the Lions do, because that's not really what the Lions do, is sign these big-time free agents. But would Josh Sweat look good on the Lions? Of course. That's, of course, if they don't trade for Myles Garrett. Josh Sweat, by the way, I think it was the 2018 draft, was taken 18 picks after Deshaun Hand was selected by the Lions in the second round by the then maestro Bob Quinn. So the Lions could have drafted Josh Sweat 6 years ago. Lions have got to get more ferocious and upgrade their defensive line. And it's not just the edges, it's the interior. That interior pass rush, what Philly was doing to push Humphrey and the guards back into Mahomes, forcing bad throws, forcing off balance throws. I'm telling you, Lions cannot be playing Jonah Williams next year at defensive tackle. No offense. Broderick Martin, you better step up. He's on a rookie deal. He's done nothing the first 2 years. I know he's been injured. Onwuzurike, I just assumed he was gone because he might price himself out of Detroit. He might go to New York and play for Aaron Glenn, or go to Chicago and play for Ben Johnson. You never know. Levi's going to be a sought-after free agent. But I think the Lions have got to not only get in on this Myles Garrett trade talk, but draft multiple defensive linemen and find some diamonds in the rough in free agency that might not be the upper tier guys, but guys that can come in and do better than what they have now. Lee McNeil's a stud. He's probably not going to be healthy to start the year. DJ Reader, they need to decide if they want to pay him what they owe him for next year. Because they could cut him and save money. That Eagles D-line, man. Jalen Carter said he was sick most of the week and not even 100%. That's where Philly won this game. That and Jalen Hurts was phenomenal. He played really, really well. Very, very well. All right, I have more thoughts on last night. We'll do that coming up next. It's also Mock Draft Monday. We'll get into a 3-round mock from NFL.com. Much, much more on today's edition of Locked On Lions, a Monday edition, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. There's nothing like the old laptop deciding to play games with me today. But hey, Locked On Lions today brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn. As a small business owner, your work doesn't end when the clock hits 5, right? Your business is always on your mind, which means when it's time to hire, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates all in one place. Post your job at LinkedIn.com. LinkedIn's new feature can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of all the right people with deep candidate insights. And here's a pro tip. Add the hiring frame to your hashtag hiring frame to your profile picture to double your reach to qualified candidates. No wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find high quality hires. Post your job for free at LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. We are discussing that and the Lions and everything else in this Monday edition of Locked On Lions, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Indeed, it is your team every day. Thanks to everybody that checks us out daily as our everydayers. I love running into people all the time. Hey, I'm an everydayer. I'll do some shout outs at some point this week. I know I'm behind on them. My guy Michael Fleischer hit us up on SpeakPipe for call of the day. You want to be our call of the day? Go to speakpipe.com/Derry podcast page. That's DERY podcast page. All right. So last night we saw a great quarterbacking performance from Jalen Hurts. And a lot of people are eating crow today because they were ones, and there was videos all over the internet today of guys saying Jalen Hurts never win the big game. The Eagles can't win a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts. That guy delivered in a big way. He played a spectacular game, and you got to be happy for him. What a job that Nick Sirianni did coaching that team for what happened last year. And Howie Roseman with the draft of Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, and drafted Jalen Carter, drafted Nolan Smith. That Eagles offensive line really pass block. Their run block went great last night, but the pass blocking was there. And man, that was just a heck of a performance. And I know a lot of people are happy today. They are rejoicing that the Chiefs did not three-peat. They're tired of Kansas City. They're tired of Mahomes. They're tired of Travis Kelce. They're tired of Taylor Swift. Why do people at the football game, when Taylor Swift is on the scoreboard, boo her? Why are you booing an individual like that who does nothing but bring people joy and is a good person? I don't understand booing Taylor Swift. Is it because you were told to? I don't get that. Everyone's like, oh, the boo birds rain down on Taylor. That's what we're doing now? Remember when people used to say, in Philadelphia, the fans are so harsh, they boo Santa Claus. And everyone went, oh, those damn Philly fans. And I know that stadium last night was filled with a lot of Eagles fans, so I guess they boo everybody, but I just don't get that one. The other thing about that game last night was an Andy Reid coach team does not get rattled like that. And I know the Chiefs played a lot of close games this year, and I know it didn't look like the Chiefs of old. But man, Philadelphia was just so physical. And I'm not telling you that if the Lions beat the Commanders, they were going to beat the Eagles. But this is why I want to see that game in week 1 next year, because that is a tough team to block. You've got the Lions offensive line, which is phenomenal. If they go up against that Eagles D line in week 1, defense wins championships. It still does. I get that people talk about the high-flying passing game, and you got to have a quarterback. And look, last night you had 2 great quarterbacks playing, of course. But man, that Philly defense was very, very impressive. Very impressive. And it's interesting reading all the different articles on the different sites, whether it's Pride of Detroit or just Justin or anything. Well, now the Lions shouldn't get Myles Garrett. But no. We just saw last night the Lions should get Myles Garrett. There's a lot of different opinions. I'm not just saying get a bunch of edge rushers. You got to get interior D linemen too. There's no guarantee Aleem McNeil is going to be ready to start the season, and after tearing his ACL, is going to be the same player next year. So I'm looking at mock drafts. We're about to do mock draft Monday here, and I'll tell you this 3-round mock. The 3-round mock I'm about to read you, not a single interior defensive lineman was taken in the first 3 rounds. The Lions have a compensatory 3rd-round pick. Remember, they gave up their 3rd-rounder last year to the Jets to get Giovanni Manu. Let's do this very quickly. So today, the first 3-round mock at NFL.com came out by one of their writers, Chad Reuter, was posted today here on the Monday after the Super Bowl at 1:20 p.m. Reuter, real fast, just to give you a heads up, Cam Ward 1 to Tennessee, Travis Hunter 2 to the Browns, Shedeur Sanders 3 to the Giants, Abdul Carter to the Patriots, Will Johnson, the Michigan corner, to Jacksonville at 5, and the rest goes on and on. The next quarterback taken in this draft, I'm looking for corners. I see Colston Loveland in the 1st round. There you go. Shout out to the Michigan Wolverines. All right, I don't see another quarterback in this 1st round. So I'm looking at it, and the Lions, of course, are drafting 28th in the 1st round. And the author of this story, as I said before, my man Chad Reuter, has the Lions at number 28 here on Mock Draft Monday, selecting Jonah Saviania. I think I pronounced that right. The offensive guard / tackle from Arizona. Big dude. So an offensive lineman with the 1st pick. Reuter writes, the strength of the Lions' offensive line has been a major factor in the team's recent success, so adding Saviania to take over for free agent Kevin Zeitler at right guard makes a lot of sense. Now, I have said on this podcast, and I will continue to say on this podcast, the Lions need to bring Kevin Zeitler back. If they're making any change on the offensive line next year, it's at left guard. Taking Saviania, when you just moved up to draft Manu this past year, I don't see that as something the Lions are going to be doing. But again, I've been wrong about Brad Holmes before. If he thinks this kid from Arizona is the best player and is a Lions type of fit, then that's what he will do. But I don't agree with taking an offensive guard / tackle. He could play both with the 1st pick. Not when you've got Sewell and Decker back next year. Unless I don't know something, and the Lions are going to make some sort of change at left tackle too. We know Penei Sewell's not going anywhere. In the 2nd round, in this 3-round mock by Chad Reuter, the Lions select at pick number 60, Maxwell Hairston, cornerback from Kentucky. I will never go against the Lions taking cornerbacks. We're going to find out in free agency before we get to the draft if Carlton Davis is back next year, and I want him back. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Carlton Davis and Kevin Zeitler are my 2 top priorities for the Lions to re-sign players. But taking a corner is certainly interesting at number 60 for Detroit. Hairston, a pretty good one from Kentucky. 4 years at Kentucky, 3 years on the field. He was a junior, a redshirt junior this past year. Lions could use help at corner. And what if Carlton Davis gets plucked away in free agency and you're down to Terrion Arnold, Amik Robertson, Ennis Rakestraw, Khalil Dorsey, and those type of guys. I could see them taking a corner. We'll have to see once we get to free agency. In the 3rd round of the Chad Reuter NFL mock draft, the Lions, of course, do not have their own 3rd-round pick, but did get a compensatory pick for losing Aaron Glenn to the NFL and to the New York Jets as a head coaching hire. They would have the last pick in the 3rd round, pick number 101. And with this pick, Reuter has the Lions taking Josiah Stewart, the Michigan edge rusher. Now, if you watch Stewart this year, especially in the USC game, he was absolutely dominant in that game. Josiah Stewart was an absolute monster against USC. Really good player, twitchy, as a lot of the scouts like to say, can get around the edge, I would have no problem with the Lions adding Josiah Stewart. I was stunned he was even there at 101. I think he's a second or third round player. Josiah Stewart is excellent. So this 3-round mock at NFL.com has guard, tackle, cornerback, and edge rusher. Does not have a single interior defensive lineman. Now, again, free agency comes before the draft. We do mock draft Monday every week from here on out until we get to the draft. So there are your players for the Lions in this mock draft Monday. I'm just the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. All right. What about odds to get to the Super Bowl next year for the Lions? Where does Detroit stack up? From our friends in Las Vegas. We will tell you about that coming up next. And this Monday edition of Locked On Lions, proudly sponsored by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. And there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Yes, Pistons in a back-to-back Tuesday and Wednesday at the United Center there in Chicago. 2 road games against Chuck Swirsky's Chicago Bulls. Well, you want to put some dollars down on the Lions. On the Pistons, who are playing great basketball, you can do that at FanDuel. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on the fourth quarter, you can stay in the action. If you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. All right? FanDuel's betting system is easy, hassle-free. The app is great. Check it all out. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Tell your friends. Maybe you're at Fogo's at the market table getting your lunch. Tell your friends you're on FanDuel. That's the place to be. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, so I've said it for weeks, even after the Lions lost to the Commanders, the window is still wide open. This is still a very competitive, young, and talented Detroit Lions team. I'm not ready to write them off. I'm not ready to say, oh, the Eagles won last night. They're going to be a dynasty. I love that when I went to the gym this morning and I'm on all the TVs, it was, are the Eagles a dynasty? Like, can't we just talk about last night's game and do that like down the road? These talking head shows are so annoying. Are the Eagles the next Patriots? That's what we were saying about the Chiefs. They lost. Then it's, oh, yep, Chiefs suck. It's like they won 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls. They were going for 3 in a row. They had a bad night. They played poorly. They were bad. They were all bad. Never seen Chris Jones play such a bad game. Travis Kelce was dropping passes. I mean, that was the Chiefs offensive line got pimp slapped. So the Lions are going to be there next year. What do our friends in Las Vegas have to say about the odds for next year? And the odds are out on FanDuel. All right. This is again to get to the Super Bowl, not to win the Super Bowl. So, if you bet $100, if the Eagles get to the Super Bowl, they are plus 600. Best odds to get to the Super Bowl next year. Philadelphia, number 1 at plus 600. Kansas City, number 2 at plus 650. Ravens tied with the Chiefs at plus 650. 4th, Bills, plus 750. Lions, plus 1,000. Are number 5 on this list. Why the San Francisco 49ers are 6th at plus 1,500, I have no idea. But apparently Vegas thinks that the 49ers have the 6th best odds to win the NFC next year. Bengals plus 1,800. Packers plus 2,000. Commanders, who ended the Lions season, plus 2,400. And Rams plus 2,800. Lions are bringing back all 6 of their Pro Bowl players next year. Brad Holmes always does well in the draft. So only teams have better odds to go to the Super Bowl. Eagles, Chiefs, Ravens, and Bills. Lions have the 2nd highest odds in the NFC. Niners, third highest odds in the NFC. I kind of misspoke before, but there you go. So I'd put $100 down on the Lions to get to the Super Bowl, plus 1,000. That wouldn't be a bad little cash in right now. Bottom line is this. Detroit's last 2 playoff games, all right, both losses to San Francisco and Philadelphia. Look at the numbers. I think they had 2 sacks in those 2 games total. All right, not enough quarterback pressures. Not enough traffic to Brock Purdy 2 years ago, traffic to Jane Daniels this year. I think this will be something Brad Holmes addresses. Plus, there's already a lot of good players coming back. Sure, Lions won 15 games last year. Now they've got to try to, the road schedule is brutal. I get all that. But this is a hungry team, and this is a good team with a lot of talent. And with all the injuries they had this year, especially on the defensive side, which were absolutely ridiculous. And I get it. Ben Johnson's gone. Aaron Glenn's gone. There will be question marks about the coaching staff and if this staff is as good as last year's staff. I get all of that. But this Lions team is hungry and very, very talented. They've got their quarterback. They've got their running backs, receivers, tight ends. We talked about the D-line a little bit. You get a healthy Hutchinson back, hopefully a healthy McNeil back. You add to that group. Linebackers have never been better. Secondary is good. Safeties are amazing. Your punter and kicker, are excellent. Your special teams coach, Dave Phipp, is back, which is great. I think this team will be right there. So I think they're going to be opening up in Philly to start the year. And that'll tell us a lot, right? Imagine the Lions opening the season, going to Philly and making a statement like they did a couple years ago in Kansas City. That'd be awesome. We'll talk a little Ben Johnson with Locked On Bears host Lauren Cox on tomorrow's edition on Locked On Lions. Thanks, everybody, for checking us out on a Monday. We are back again tomorrow.